Hi friends, in this video we will be reading our big literature book for this week called Peter's Chair. Now Peter's Chair is a fantasy, and that means that the characters and the story is made up. And it also means that usually there's a problem that will be solved at the end. And to help us remember and organize our thoughts as we read our story, we are going to do two things. We're going to focus on two things. We're going to be asking and answering questions to ourselves before we read, while we're reading, and after we're reading, because good readers ask themselves questions while they're reading so that they make sure that they understand what is happening in the story. So we're going to be asking and answering a lot of questions about the story as we're reading. And as we use that comprehension strategy, we are going to then focus on the plot sequence, focusing on what happened in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story so that we know exactly what is going on in our story, Peter's Chair. So before we get started, please get a pencil and a piece of paper and make your paper look like this. I have one box at the top that has beginning, the word beginning in it. I have an arrow that is pointing down to the next box that has the word middle in it. And I have an arrow pointing down to the last box that has the word end in it. And this is a flow chart, and it is going to help us. And a flow chart is something that helps us put our thoughts in a very clear and neat way. And this flow chart is going to help us understand the story or the plot sequence of Peter's Chair. So we're going to be coming back to this throughout the story. So please make sure you have your pencils, your papers ready, because we're going to be moving through. Let's get started. So I see that these words are bigger than the other words, so I know that these two words must be the title. And the title of the story is Peter's Chair, and it's by Ezra Jack Keats. Now, his name is the only name that's here by itself, so I know that he is the author and the illustrator. That means he wrote all of the words, the author, and he drew all of the pictures. He is the illustrator. Peter stretched as high as he could. There, his tall building was finished. Crash! Down it came. Shh! Called his mother. You'll have to play more quietly. Remember, we have a new baby in the house. What caused Peter's building to fall down? The dog ran into the tower and knocked it over. Peter looked into his sister Susie's room. His mother was fussing around the cradle. That's my cradle, he thought, and they painted it pink. Hi, Peter, said his father. Would you like to help paint Sister's high chair? It's my high chair, whispered Peter. So what's happening so far in the story? What's happening? This little boy's name is Peter, and I don't think that Peter looks too happy. I can see that his eyebrows are really, really low and close to his eyes. It looks like he is upset. Why is he upset? What is Peter looking at that makes him so upset? Well, his parents are painting his old things pink. So now we know our problem in the story, and we can add that to our flow chart in the beginning. So in the beginning of the story, Peter is upset that his old things are being painted. Put a period on that because that's a complete sentence. Alright, so we can add that in the beginning of our story. Peter is upset that his old things are being painted. Let's keep going. He saw the crib and muttered, "My crib, it's painted pink too." Not too far away stood his old chair. "They didn't paint that yet!" Peter shouted. He picked it up and ran to his room. "Let's run away, Willie," he said. Peter filled a shopping bag with cookies and dog biscuits. "We'll take my blue chair, my toy crocodile, and the picture of me when I was a baby." Willie got his bone. They went outside and stood in front of his house. "This is a good place," said Peter. He arranged his things very nicely and decided to sit in his chair for a while. So first, Peter was upset that all of his things were being painted. What did Peter do next? What did Peter do next? Now that he saw that all of his things were being painted, what did he do? He took his chair and then he ran away. So let's add that to our flow chart. In the middle of the story, Peter took his chair and ran away. Took his chair and ran away. So in the beginning of the story, Peter is upset that his old things are being painted. In the middle of the story, Peter took his chair and ran away. Let's keep going. I wonder what is going to happen at the end. But he couldn't fit in the chair. He was too big. Wait a minute. Wait a second here. I'm going to ask myself a question. Why can't Peter fit in his chair? I'm going to think about that. Maybe he's too big. Remember, all of his stuff that is being painted pink was being given to his little sister. So I think that because Peter is a big boy, he can't fit in that chair anymore. He's grown too big for it. Interesting. His mother came to the window and called, "Won't you come back to us, Peter dear? We have something very special for lunch." Peter and Willie made believe they didn't hear, but Peter got an idea. So the words say that Peter pretends not to hear his mother. Then it says that he got an idea. What do you think that his idea is? Let's read to find out. Let's see. Soon his mother saw signs that Peter was home. "That rascal is hiding behind the curtain," she said happily. Now I read that Peter's mother saw signs that he was home, but I don't see any signs on these pages. But I do see his toy crocodile and his bag. So I think that she is using the fact that his crocodile and his bag, which he had outside, now that she sees it inside, I think that she is taking those to be the signs that he is back inside. So the word signs must mean things that show you something. At least how it's being used on this page. She moved the curtain away, but he wasn't there. "Here I am!" shouted Peter. Peter sat in a grown-up chair. His father sat next to him. "Daddy," said Peter, "let's paint the little chair pink for Susie." Wait a second. Why do you think that Peter decides that he wants to paint the chair pink for Susie? Well, if we look back, we remember that Peter couldn't fit in his chair before. And because he couldn't fit in his chair before, I think that Peter realizes that he is a big boy now and that he can't use the chair anymore. So since he can't use the chair anymore, I think that he wants to paint the chair pink for his little sister so that they could still use the chair. But let's keep reading and see what happens. And they did. Oh yeah. So what happened after Peter ran away? If we look at our flowchart, we know that in the beginning of the story, Peter is upset that his old things are being repainted. In the middle of the story, he took his chair and ran away. What happened after he ran away? After Peter ran away, he came back home, and then he decided to do what with his dad? What did he decide to do? He decided to paint the chair pink. So we can put this in our chart. So at the end of the story, Peter came home and painted the chair with Dad. So now we have a fully complete flowchart that tells us the whole sequence, the whole plot sequence, the order in which the story happened for Peter's chair. First, Peter was upset that his old things were being painted. Then Peter took his chair and ran away. And finally, at the end, Peter came home and painted the chair with his dad.